Hello, everyone, and welcome to the HIPFIRE Podcast with myself, Yasser, and Seth. We created this podcast because we're both very avid fans of the competitive Call of Duty scene and want to share our thoughts and opinions with you guys out there that watch. A little bit about myself. I got into competitive Call of Duty back during Ghosts. I played a lot of COD during Ghosts, but I mainly played Black Ops 2 and a lot of League play, and from that I got into found out what MLG was and went on their website, and upon going on the website, I saw that Nadeshot and Scuppy were streaming. I was really interested in them, went to their YouTube channels and checked out them and all their throwback tournaments from Ghost to Black Ops 2, and from then on I watched their whole journey and really got me into the whole competitive scene, and I'm ever grateful for it.
Yeah, and for me, it was I used to play NW2 a lot, and I was kind of the quick scoping intervention kind of guy. And my friends, if you heard of Faze Clan, so we made our own clan called Fuse Clan. It was just like messing around in private lobbies and that kind of stuff. But then I kind of took a step back from COD for a while, and started playing more Halo and other games. But then Yasser actually showed me some clips of Black Ops 3, and got me into competitive COD. And then I watched Black Ops 2 Champs, and that was a wild Champs. You know, you had the big OG upset, and then you had the USA chance in the grand final, and all the hype just got to me. I loved it. I thought it was a really fun event. And then in the off season before IW, I started watching Study stream, and that IW team, it was like Study, Nagafin, Nameless, and Havoc, and they had the most funny scrims and just like hilarious moments, and yeah, they got me into competitive COD, and now I haven't really missed an event since.
And so we have different segments on the show to help us talk about different opinions, and one of them is called First Blood, where we talk about recent things that have happened in the scene, and unfortunately, the big one that everyone has heard about, I'm sure by now, is that Damon Barlow, three-time the GOAT, has indeed retired from competitive Call of Duty. And this is a really sad moment. You want to go into it, Seth?
For me, again, like coming in late in Black Ops 3, the first reactions I had to Damon were people telling Optic to drop him and all this negativity surrounding Damon. But then early on in IW, he made some like ridiculous clutches against like United, and he started playing great in S&D. The respawn still wasn't quite there, so I kept seeing those fans in argument over whether or not Damon should be dropped, and I just didn't really know much about him from before. So from my perspective, I thought he was great in S&D, and he definitely provided like solid comms. So I never really thought he could be dropped, but I didn't really fully appreciate how good he was until those Game 5 round like clutch moments where he goes like 11-0 to start S&D, and those kind of moments they really stuck out for me for Karma. But yeah, why don't you go into him more? Yes.
Yeah, I mean, Damon Carbo is one of my favorite players of all time, and probably my favorite player of all time. Although I was a big Optic fan, I was very appreciative of what Damon brought to the scene. Again, as you mentioned, Seth, he had a lot of clutch moments. I actually went back through a lot of his best plays, YouTube highlights, and a lot of them showed multiple 1v2s, 1v3s that he was able to clutch, and his composure is something that I feel like is not talked about enough. He was insane under pressure in those big moments. In grand finals, he would often show up. I know everyone knows about IW Champs, the one that they won. I think he had a 1.3 KD in that finals. Everyone talks about how Formal had a great event, which obviously he did. He went off. One of the best events of all time, but I don't know if to talk about how great Damon was in that finals, because Scup and Krim could sort of, they were slacking a little bit in that department during the finals. But, as I mentioned, the 1v3s, he was very clutch. He must have had at least 25 to 30 of them, which is kind of crazy to think about compared to other players. Fun fact, as we look at this card made by a lineman, he made another one specifically for COD Champs. And if you take out his top 16 placement at AW, he has an average placing of 2.6 at COD Champs, which is unreal to me. I don't understand how any player could have a top 3 place at COD Champs, one of the biggest tournaments, but he does. I mean, he was in the grand finals of 20 of the first 35 events from Black Ops 2 to AW. He was always making clutch plays, and he was an unreal player, and I feel like to lose him is a big loss to the scene. Obviously, we should talk a bit about his time in Seattle.
Yeah.
Not the greatest. Obviously, he's sort of been on the downturn of his career. A lot of the games he's playing he's not enjoying, and that really hurts his motivation. And as he said himself, he didn't feel like he was great at this game, and unfortunately, he was never able to pick it up. But you should appreciate him. He's been playing for 10 years, and for him to be around still playing at the top level is definitely impressive. But we also do have a couple clips for you just to honor Damon and what he was able to bring.
Yeah, so let's play this first clip here.
And most of you guys will remember this. It's kind of recent. This is 1v3 against United in the Grand Finals.
And you're going to see it's Karma, last man standing.
You see the composure he has. Just gets one kill.
Gets burned. Karma's going to decide
his camo.
This camo, and he's going for Gunless, who's
already wins the round. Still takes the gunfight.
Talk about
Karma bottom enough time. It's Optic
and wins it too. It was Dallas. This was the event.
So big
unreal plays by him.
The OG clip, I'm sure everyone recalls.
Black Ops 2. People like to reminisce about how I believe Complex ended up winning this tournament.
Who has the best strategy? We have
Impact, did his best to try and help Impact keep the run. They had won 4 events up
and
to
he
this
is being
point.
so sneaky, trying to get an angle
A lot
up
of us,
top.
which was
Miracles
unprecedented to see. No one won 4 events in a row, and even to this day, I think the record is 5.
From Karma,
and most dynasties, even Optic, I don't think they won more than 4. So for them to win 4,
yeah, you know, Impact actually really had a good move into A. Clearly, they
showing
can't know where everyone is at all times, but they would have had a
Everyone
really
knows
nice
that
and still do have a nice
DSR
entrance
with
in A.
the
However,
Cherry
they're
Blossom
starting to
camo
favor
is kind
that
of stable.
B-side push.
The
Placers moving up as well,
then.
and now you just see Complexity looking at A because of how long it took him to get into B.
So the
strategy
the game
of waiting for your opponent to move around and get rested has started to work for Impact.
Ace is going to get one, but Karma answers back, so it's 3-on-2 in favor of Impact. There is a flank, though. Clayster could potentially pick off 2 players. Unfortunately, will not get the angle. Another player picked off by Karma. He has all 3 kills so far. Going for the ace, saw the shadow, and there it is.
Easy snipe. Ready for the next. Again, Grand Finals moments is where Damon shows up.
With the snipes,
that clip, and then there's the very
showing that all day.
The Dallas MVP just opened.
Breaks does a little bit of trash talking.
Good effort. Solid 8 out of 10 effort. I think you could be glad. I'm not gonna lie.
B-.
Yeah,
I found it interesting that Damon
Yeah, I don't think you got picked up there. The cast just kind of went crazy.
Gonna let him know. That's why they picked up Karma.
Yeah, no,
oh my goodness,
I wouldn't doubt
that
it.
is just ridiculous.
Oh my goodness.
Alright, Karma, I get it. You can snipe. Alright.
Or Faze, they're not going to be able to do anything. If Enable doesn't
AW, he did not, at least on the Optic Gaming roster, he did not have a lot of great moments, but this was one of them, and I wanted to share it.
Into the Faze base. You've got them spawning out of green. They've got to get
Oh
forward,
my
try to
god.
get
I don't think I ever saw the full clip. Jesus.
Karma with the 4-piece. He is absolutely a monster.
A good old Damon.
Only
got 1 point out of it,
but
but
the points as well. The 1 point toss. There it is.
Yeah, this next clip kind of just like highlights
and then
Damon's whole career.
This last clip, Seth said this last clip kind of like encompasses what he was all about, and sort of it pretty much tells the story of his career.
Crim probably gets on bomb. At least a 1-point play there. They had a player set up. Would have been able to get the 1-point throw off. You see Vicento's going to hop his teammate. Don't know if it even connected with anybody. Big play by Karma. I feel like time and time again, Jack, we talk about Karma making big plays in uplink.
The second time this game that he's gotten the interception. Brown's still just waiting inside this cage's area. What do you even do in this scenario?
I was going to say, if he brings it out the backside, he can go for one. Yeah, so that's a
Never
smart
missed
play by
those.
Karma.
He never
wait
missed
for, like,
If tough though, Aqua with the drone. 20 seconds left. Vicento leading the charge. Heatwave gets popped. Scump now dead. He's going to go ahead, set up the one interception again.
Karma again with a huge play.
Done the big wag after that one.
They reset it. Optic Gaming. They reset it. It is over. Optic Gaming.
Then you just hear Mr. X Courage sort of talk about Damon means to Optic Gaming and all the teams he's been a part of.
There's nothing else you could say. Those types of plays don't show up on the stat line. People were chanting his name last night when they won their semifinals match in the winners bracket. They're doing it again here. Optic Gaming guaranteed the top.
Time and time again in the respawn game modes, especially 3 and 4. Your uplinks in CTF. Karma is the player who makes plays for this team, bails them out of really.
Do they want to go?
Just to wrap up about Damon, as we talked about him for quite some time. His play style, was often a support sub, but he definitely could slay in most moments during the Optic Dynasty. That wasn't his role. He was the kind of player that did it all. He was a really great all-around player. The dirty work, he was always on rotation. And I went back to watch IW Champs to watch himself and how incredible he was that tournament. And there are videos of him actually talking about that tournament and mentioned how he and the rest of the team, and specifically him and Krim, would watch back VODs, S&Ds for the teams that were going to play the night before, and they'd come up with smoke strats specifically for IW, which hadn't really been done necessarily a lot. Most of the pro teams did use smokes, and they were one of the first ones to use it more often.
The 4-man wall run strat, with like the 4-man just hit an alley. But yeah, Optic brought in different strats, which was nice to see.
For champs and stage 2 playoffs, they definitely brought their own little strats, and he had shown he had like his own notepad of like strats of what team would do on specific builds for hardpoint and what they would do against LG, because particularly LG was known for that 4-man hit, and they sort of adapted to that and used that to their advantage at champs, and they ended up beating them 3-0, so it clearly worked out. There's not much else we can really talk about that hasn't really been said before. He's 24 championships. He beat Envy all 3 times, which I'm sure Hasser must be super pleased about. But so there isn't much else to be said. He's one of the greatest players of all time. Some have Krim, some have him in himself, but losing him in the scene is definitely a sad day, and it sort of.
I think his personality will keep him around. I don't know if a coach is kind of the right thing for him. I think he might flourish as a streamer and find that as his his next avenue. But whatever it is, he's an entertainer. He's a natural entertainer as well as a competitor.
That's true.
So I feel like whatever he does going forward is going to be some good content either way.
Very true, very true. But that wraps up our Damon segment. Look to the go and whatever he chooses to pursue. Also, we should talk about other stuff that has happened in the scene recently, and with that is the event being moved from this weekend to next. What do you have to say about this?
It was a good move. I don't think people really talked about too much of the reason why, but personally, I think it makes sense to have a weekend to reflect. I think it'd be so easy to just watch a COD tournament and turn a blind eye to whatever everything's going on. But I think giving everyone a weekend to just kind of take it in, and regardless of what side you sit on different debates, there's no question there's a problem with racism in the world really, but specifically in the U.S. and also we could talk a little bit about it in the gaming scene if you want to. Yes.
Yeah, obviously the gaming scene. It goes twofold. I feel like in some matters the gaming scene can be more accepting than regular society, but in others it can be quite toxic and negative. Obviously, I think we're all very familiar, as you mentioned to me before, about the old lobbies in NW2 where it feels like everyone in the lobby is getting called the N-word, and we've seen Activision. They've taken some stance on it now in Modern Warfare. When they roll up to the game, there's the Black Lives Matter movement, and they're trying to crack down and insert policies to help prevent people from having gamer tags or using words that contain racial slurs, which I think is important. And the one thing I will say about moving the event to next weekend is I'm happy that there are certain players, I believe, that are taking time to do streams that in honor of the Black Lives Matter movement. I believe players in the Atlanta Faze. I could be wrong, but I believe Celium I saw was streaming for that. So to see players taking the initiative is definitely something that you like to see for the PL. And I hope that
I hope this isn't just like a one-time PR stint that they do. I hope they continue to try to make the scene better and promote a safe environment for everyone playing online. It does feel like this new generation though of gamers are rightfully viewing racism as kind of like embarrassing, just like toxic and just like doesn't have a place. I personally I've noticed that. People keep saying they keep noticing racism in gaming, and obviously it's definitely there. I'm not saying it's not, but I've also noticed a lot more people being against it than they used to be. It used to be just like a chuckle or you just get annoyed by it but don't say anything. But now people are saying stuff, and it's definitely improving.
Yeah, for sure. So that should wrap up, unless you have anything else to say about
no, that's about it. We're both on the side that it's positive move by Activision.
Yes, 100%. Should cover our first blood segment, and then we'll move on to our next segment, which is shooting bodies.
So let me just pull the graphic. There we go.
You got a good old clip, I'm pretty sure. Most people remember that one.
I love to see it.
And ironically, Clay is sort of the topic of today. Obviously, this happened
Wait, so we should mention
over a week ago,
segment
so it
where we
isn't
talk about
recent.
beef, like player beef, either in the AM scene or the pro scene, just whatever's kind of who's arguing with who and who's firing shots at who, that kind of thing.
Yeah, thank you for that. So just a bit of a covered the segment. I think, as we're all familiar with, not too long ago we had beef between aBeZy and Clay, and then discussing about the whole. It was around the gentleman's agreements. Essentially, Clay's argument was that his team, the Dallas Empire, had only been using automatic tactical sprint, or ATS, because they saw players on Faze using it, and Faze was arguing that no, they hadn't used it, or only started using it a couple weeks ago, so that couldn't have been true. And he talked about why would he lie? Wouldn't make any sense for him to lie, and Clay's otherwise. And obviously they have a bit of history. They won champs together, and you would think they would be happy, but at the same time we also know aBeZy wanted Clay gone. He was part of that movement. It wasn't just JCap last season that wanted Clay off the team. It was aBeZy. So there is that history, and I'm sure that's not glossed over Clay's or gone over Clay's head rather. And essentially, Dallas has been accused of, other pro teams that is, been accused of hiding ATS or slide cancel from developers in order to benefit themselves, which, I can see the argument that they haven't been forthcoming, but at the same time, we've seen apparently Shotzi on stream teaching his stream how to slide cancel and using ATS rather. So you see where both sides are.
Yeah, it's also a bit weird, just touching on the fact that they won champs last year, that these two would have some kind of beef. I don't think it's that deep, personally. Yeah, I just that's something personal, obviously, between these guys. But it's also just a talking point, because you think about teams that have won champs in the past, they typically try to stick together. And then they have a champs curse some part of the following year. But I think after United won champs, I didn't see them sticking together. I don't think most people saw them sticking together, which is kind of weird for a team that just won the last two events together. But it just didn't feel like they had a great vibe, chemistry. I don't know what it is. It just didn't feel like they were going to team together afterwards, anyways.
I think it's a lot had to do with the
That's
CDL.
true.
I think if it had stayed the CWL, they would have stuck together. I mean, you see most teams at champs stick together for a period of time, and eventually you break up. You see
that's
Intact
true. I just wasn't surprised. I don't know about. I wasn't surprised that they didn't even try to stick together. I don't know why.
Well, I will admit, it wasn't surprising that they ended up splitting up, because. Yeah, I think most figured that aBeZy and Simp would stick together and trying to find a lot of other players that slay heavy, similar to themselves, kind of like they did now, like Celium and Priesta. So I guess it wasn't a big surprise to anyone.
Also, just some more beef, maybe less known beef in the EU AM scene, with Team Singularity and Team BDS, which is the all French team. So this started 3 weekends ago, I think, and there was. Basically, what happened was one of the players for Singularities logged out in the middle of a hard point against BDS, and they talked to the refs, and the refs said they can do a reset where BDS only had to reach a certain amount of points to win the map. I think it was 168 or 169, and then if they hit that, as soon as they hit that number, that's it, they won the map, right? So Singularity agreed, and they replayed the map. But before they even got a chance to replay it, all the French fans ran over to Biz's stream and started a war in the stream, basically, just arguing with all the EU fans, and it was great. It was pretty funny. Nothing too over the line. And then what happened was Singularity ended up crushing them in that hard point so badly that before the hard point was even over, BDS just quit. They were just they probably just got a little frustrated with the ruling that came down. And then I think Game 5 went Singularity's way as well. And then the following weekend they played again, and there was more of the fans in the chat, yelling at Bids and whatever. And Bids is a pretty nice guy, but the trash talk was great. He kind of let his guard down a little bit and said some things. But at the end it was all GGs, it was all fair. It was just some AM, good old fashioned Call of Duty beef.
Yeah, that's the one thing I like about the AM scene, is that they're sort of still in a way unfiltered in the way they trash talk. It kind of brings back memories to how the competitive Call of Duty scene used to be before the CDL and CWL and all that.
I don't really want to call it a friendship league, because it's definitely not, but it's a lot friendlier than it used to be. In some ways,
in some ways it is, yeah.
All right, that's going to conclude the shooting bodies segment. And now we're going to go on to the Buy That Merch segment. Personal favorite. Where we basically just break down branding. And so today we're going to break down Atlanta Faze's branding and CDL pack.
Yeah, so to start, this is one of the, I think we both agreed this is one of the camos we see more often. Obviously, the Huntsman is quite popular, but the Atlanta Faze camo I see all the time, as you mentioned, in Warzone and sometimes in the CDL playlist. It does look pretty nice. I won't not lie. Nate Shot himself on streaming has used this skin particularly, I guess because it reminds him of 100 Thieves. But, in my opinion, the logo doesn't look too bad. It was not one of my favorites coming into all 12. I don't hate it. I think I like the fact that they were able to incorporate the old Faze logo into it, and the name, of course. And I think bringing that history into the CDL is super important, and that was something I was very happy
and I think
about.
just also especially on the camos a bit, it is like a little similar to the Red Tiger camo, which was like everyone's favorite camo back in MW2. So it kind of keeps that same kind of color scheme. And yeah, I think incorporating the branding of Faze is definitely going to bring in outside fans of the CDL. We were talking about this before. We were saying that basically, out of the orgs that stayed at the top in Call of Duty, Faze had a wider reach than most in the terms of like people either knowing Faze through like Faze Banks, right, or like through CS:GO or through other avenues, and that helped them. I think like Offset as a brand ambassador, which is great because he's from Atlanta, right? So it just kind of like lines up nicely. But yeah, I think they did a solid job with their branding, and I was surprised to see a lot of people rocking in Warzone, just because I feel like I thought there'd be more of a disconnect between Warzone and the CDL. But they obviously have to go into the into the store into the CDL section to buy the kits. That was a bit surprising to me.
Yeah, for sure. I think people have mentioned, I can't remember if it's Twitter or Reddit, that a lot of the people that have the Atlanta Faze camo more often than not probably don't know about the CDL, which could definitely be true and be kind of disappointing as a fan of the CDL that that's true. Considering that they have to go into the CDL section of the store, just said you'd hope that maybe there is some crossover there, but unless you have anything else to say, that should wrap up our segment.
Yeah, I think we're going to try to do this like on every podcast. We'll review like one of the team's brandings and just go in a little bit and just give our remarks on it. Like we think this is pretty clean. Bring some history into it, so it's not like totally new. I like it. I think it's clean.
I agree. I agree. That leads us into our next segment, which would be Second Chance, the Gulag, as you can definitely tell. And so essentially, this segment is to talk about which player has essentially revived their career or best comeback, or place to this point of the season has sort of made a bit of a comeback compared to what their previous scenario was, and highlight their journey back to the top. And for this segment, I'd like to start off talking about Bristini. Obviously, you Huntsman fans definitely know about him and how helpful he was in winning his championship with this past couple weekends with the Huntsman. Obviously, he took a break. The mental health issues, which I want to say is very courageous. I don't think many people would do that. Obviously, we saw Tommy last year in Black Ops 4 do that, and he didn't end up coming back to the Pro League. So I think for Preston to take that risk is one very courageous and very admirable, and shows that focus and priority that mental health is, and I'm happy that people are taking it seriously now. But essentially, he took a step away, didn't come back to Florida. Prosty himself said that was on Preston. He didn't want to come back, and whether or not that's true, he left after they had just beaten his brother, and see how emotional of a moment that was. I think it's one of the most emotional moments in all competitive Call of Duty history, to see the twins play against each other, and you could see tears in their eyes and how important that was, especially for Preston, considering that everyone had said he got carried to champs and that he didn't really get, he was kind of on the leftover team in a way. He was on a team with Skies and Frosty, players that were talented. They weren't proven. They hadn't won a championship before, so there's a lot of questions whether why he was left sort of on the wayside while see Easy and Sip on Faze and play on Dallas and our cities with Chicago and NRG. So, for him to win that was definitely very important. And then he came back. He's now on the Huntsman, back with his twin, and his first tournament, they already get to the finals and win, which is very impressive. And I think a lot of players are more appreciative of his role. He's never going to put up those big numbers, but he's always going to have those high engagements, and he's gonna help Scup and Envoy performed better, and the entire team really performed better. That was something that Gunless was lacking in. So, very, very happy for him, and I want to
I think I also
just
want to touch on that a bit. His S&D performance I thought was interesting. He seemed to fit right in, like perfectly in the whatever strats they ran. That was kind of surprising to me because sometimes with new players, S&D is always a weird one because they bring in new strats, but sometimes it's hard to iron them out. But he seemed to be seamless in fitting in there. And also, I just want to ask you a question. Do you think I saw this question posted on Reddit, and I really didn't know how I felt about it. But do you think Preston's mental health is going to be moving forward? Is going to be like important to look at when if people start giving him the karma treatment and the drop Preston treatment if he has a bad map? Because with his role, he's going to have some maps that just don't go his way. I think there was a map previously on Hackney Yard in the Astro Gaming listen, and he even said like I got to slow down. Because he just started running into bullets, and sometimes that you get into bad rhythm, and as the entry fragger that'll happen. So what do you think? Do you think he's be able to mentally keep up?
I mean, it's hard to say. In particular, speak on his mental health because I could not tell you. As for getting the Damon treatment, I know Damon has talked about in the past how it was really demoralizing to continually hear the comments, "Oh, you're the problem. They need to drop you." Will Preston hear those comments? You can only hope that the Huntsman fans will get better with that. Will they? I have no idea. They're very passionate.
Just quickly jump in. I think they will get better with it because I think now they're understanding the importance of roles. I think because he got dropped on this, right? I think that if he came in and this was the team to begin with, and he had slow events, I think it would have been worse. But the fact that he replaced somebody who's like Gunless is a Slayer, right? That's like his big thing, right? He just gets a lot of kills.
Yeah,
right.
One of the most talented players.
Skill. Yeah. But the fact that he came in and replaced somebody like that and then won an event straight away, it kind of shows the importance of roles and how getting a bunch of kills isn't really that important. It's important, you know what I mean? It's not the most important thing.
100%.
So I think for them to see the difference between what Gunless provided and what Prestige provided, well, I think it'll help. I think it'll help keep them off Preston's back if he has a slow map.
I definitely agree with that.
Okay, and the second player we want to highlight for the second chance is actually Zero from the Royal Ravens. So obviously, I'm just going to give a little history for Zero. He was on that Splice team in IW. That was the first European team to win an event in North America. And he was the MVP of that event as a main AR. And very, very, very slow main AR. This dude played on like 3-3 sensitivity, something stupid like that. Just sat in the back like a turret and just mowing people down. Just that was his role, just a slow AR. And then he began to adapt a little bit on reserve. Started running SMG occasionally, and then became this like super versatile flex player. Like I know last year in Black Ops 4, he started the year running Grapple Sog, and was making like so many cool plays with it. I remember they named like that big truck, the white van. I forget what map that was on. But there was that white van that Zero would just slide in and out of. If you remember, you probably remember. There was that van on that back of the hill. He would just slide in there, slide out of it, make all these crazy grapple plays around it. And then towards the end of the year, when he went to Faze, he became main AR again, right? So he could kind of play every role. And so going into that New York team, I think people were pretty confident Lamar was gonna be the main AR and Zero could flex. But pretty early on, they kind of realized it wasn't working, and I think they made the right decision to, obviously, because Mac is playing really well and the team's improved a lot. So I don't think they made the wrong decision dropping Zero. I just think personally it was a little early. But I think Zero did the best possible thing you can do when you get dropped in this scene, and he just started grinding 10s. I saw him in every night on 10s lobbies playing with like Temp and playing with other guys that grind 10s. Just always in those lobbies, and he played like different roles in 10s, right? Sometimes he'd play main AR, sometimes he would play like the hill guy and just get like 2 minutes of hill time, and sometimes he'd be in rotation. I think that really helped him build his stock up. So when London was looking for players, they picked up Zero, and I noticed he was doing a bit of rotation play on London Royal Ravens, and I think that kind of helped the team like pace wise, because I think you have Dylan who's just like fast and freakishly fast. And Shawnee's also picked it up a lot this year in terms of speed. And you didn't really have a guy that really focused on rotations as an SMG, because Scouts kind of just roamed around and got kills. But I noticed Zero would really pay attention to spawns, and I think he obviously learned them playing tons of 10s. I actually want to share a quick anecdote too. I was watching Glowfrosty stream, who's a North American MAR AM, and I was just talking with some of the people in the chat, and I was saying how I think Zero deserves to be on a team. And out of nowhere, Zero just comments and is like, "Yo, thanks, man." So Zero was watching this random North American amateur player stream. It just kind of shows that he was dedicated to sticking around and learning more about the game, and getting back into a starting role. And he made good on his chance, getting second place in his first event back, looking like pretty good doing it. He was right up there with Dylan and slaying, so that was good to see.
You get to see the impact that Trey had on the Royal Ravens, considering how big of a difference it was from the week prior, or 2 weeks prior when they played without him. I suppose with him, they looked like a completely different team and so much faster. And Dylan looked much better alongside Zero, so definitely a positive change for them. But that should wrap up our second chance segment, and with that, we will move into our new camouflage segment. It's essentially, we're going to be talking about players in the AM scene that are under the radar, or players in the pro scene that we feel that don't get enough recognition. And to start, I want to talk about my man, Alex. I feel like Alex is one of the subs for the Minnesota Rocker. I feel like not enough attention is given to how well he has played, not only this year, but in past years in particular. Just to look at it, he has one of the top sub KDs in the CDL. Now everyone looks at Simp, who has the 1.19, which is ridiculous, and I definitely should be noted. But he's second. I think the only other sub that is above him, I guess he would be third. Pharaoh is his second at 1.12, but Pharaoh hasn't played as many events, whereas Alex is a 1.07, and he's played every event. Obviously, he does have the benefit of having a guy like Asim run in for him all the time. But I feel like Alex, a guy who's super aggressive around the map. He's been one of the main reasons the Rocker have been as good. I know a lot of people talk about Assault being great at MinAR and GodRx, who's been a top 5 player in this game. But I feel like you have to also talk about the subs. The subs are so important, especially in this COD particular. And Alex has definitely been unreal this year. And with the numbers he's putting up in all game modes, I feel like he should be considered one of the top subs in this game, and I don't think he's getting that recognition. Maybe in the pro scene he is, but definitely not by the community. And I just want to highlight that.
Quick little Alex video here.
Keep your eyes on Minnesota Rucker this weekend.
Alex actually finds himself a double there. Alex doing Alex thing.
We talked about him in game 1. We talked about him in game 2. Well, hell, here we are talking about him in game 3 as well.
Alex doesn't even need the help. Alex with the triple.
The man just did it all. It's basically a highlight reel of Alex.
Yeah, I love that clip from the CDL, just highlighting a guy that doesn't maybe get enough attention. It was nice of them to kind of make that little video for him. But actually, I want to talk about Alex a bit in his history, because I remember him coming up in IW, and he rose fast in the scene. I remember hearing his voice, here and there on different teams, bumping on rosters, and then all of a sudden he was on Infuse and they placed top 12 at champs in IW. That was such a fast jump for a guy coming into the scene.
Yeah.
And then in the start of World War II, he didn't end up on one of the top EU teams. I think that was a big miss. I think towards the end of halfway through the World War II season, Unilad picked him up, and they ended up doing much better with Alex. But in my opinion, he should have been starting on a really good EU team from the get-go. But because he was not as proven and young, I think EU teams specifically kind of waited a long time before introducing young talent. But they finally, he eventually got enough steam and is now on a, what do you call Minnesota, top 5, top 6 team in the game, I guess? They have to be, right?
Yeah, they have to.
So I think he's definitely somebody that should be talked more about.
100%. With that, there are other AMs that you want to mention?
I'm going to show a couple clips for AM players. I was going to do a specific player in Awakening, but we're going to see him pretty soon on Florida. So I kind of want to just I don't want to tease it too much. I kind of just want to see him go out there and play his heart out. So first, I'm going to play some other clips from different AMs from the last Challengers Cup. These are just pulled straight from that Challengers Cup. So first one is the Apexities S&D clip. Let me just hide that. There we go.
Martin pushed
the nice,
bomb very
1v3
aggressively
ace.
over towards A, but this time it looks like it could be going right on themselves. Apexity is looking to push up, trying to make sure they can't go.
I'm happy more of these kind of clips are being shown,
situations.
earlier in the year we weren't seeing AM events being
Now has
streamed.
to go ahead and hop back out as there is going to be a player on top of the bomb.
It plays
Doesn't
the time.
actually get the
Perfect
defuse in,
1v3.
so now he runs away. Gunzy on the bomb. 11 seconds left. He's got to go for the push here. He's got to make sure he takes down Gunzy. He'll go ahead and take him down. Doug Sensor Martin wins the round behind the 1 versus 3 from the man, the myth, and the legend, Apex.
Yeah, it was a good call from the caster too. Yeah, so Apex Cities with the 1v3 clutch. I think it was an ace. It was an ace as well in the round. So pretty special plays from Apex Cities. He's a guy that I've not really too familiar on, but I've heard his name more and more lately. So maybe we'll see him kind of rise up the ranks. That's clips from Cells, who I'm pretty sure most people that follow the AM scene have heard of him. He's on the UIU team, and he's been playing pretty well the past couple titles. So here's another clip for Cells.
Expecting the pinch, and now Cells, the man we highlighted with the sniper, doesn't have any chance at actually finding a shot. There is a player top side. That is Apox, who has the sniper himself. The Cells is going to grab a cell ball. The door is going to work in his favor, as I'm sure Apexities would love to have that one back one more time. But now he's actually got himself a round he can work with. He takes down one. You know Apox is sniping in towards the back here, so this could be a chance where you're able to find this first kill, and now look for 2. He might have information on it. This could be a 1v3. Cells has done some incredible things today. He finds the shots, and he outplays before, as the 1v3 is in for the very first round on the board.
Yeah, the casters are a bit delayed there. Sorry about that, but that's just the way the YouTube captured the video. So, but it's a good clip for Cells, and he's a guy that I think is one of those next guys up. You know, I was on the team with like Hollow and Infamous on UIU, and he's gonna break the scene soon. I do expect him to be on a pro team. I mean, not this year, but in the future, because I think he's one of the more like a good combination of cracked out and also like cerebral. Like understands the game, plays it well, and plays well on S&D. So definitely keep a lookout for Cells. Next clip is TCM, who I'm pretty sure some of you might remember from like the AW days before I was even a fan. I was told he was, kicking it back then. But he did a nice little 1v1 snap onto the Pro Loot, and Pro Loot's an S&D kid, so it was a little embarrassing for Pro Loot, I'm sure.
Now, Ruins and Prolute in a 2 versus 3. They've got to win this one in order to bring them back at least a round here in the series, but it looks like 2011 Bruins should be at least able to go ahead and find themselves here. A 1 versus 1 TCM versus Prolute. TCM again in this 1 versus 1 situation, but the wrap over towards the B site should be C. Oh my god!
We see from the other perspective too.
What the hell?
Smoked.
This is unreal. I wish my MP5
could 1v1. As that was insane. That was almost a big play though for Prolute.
One of the reasons we don't see Merc
big kills, DCM.
Tell me the MP5 is not overpowered.
Yeah.
Tell me the MP5 is not.
Actually, I don't know if that
it was a snap, but it was definitely that was an M4 that he gunned, right? So,
it's true.
No, good clip from TCM there. It's nice to see him in the scene. So he's playing with these young guys named like Katani and Noisy, and Fame, who are like disgustingly good in like raw gun skill. But he provides, I imagine, I haven't heard their scrims before, but I imagine he provides the bit of like veteran voice, and he plays really well in the S&Ds. So it's nice to see TCM sticking around and doing well. This last clip's from Dave Patty, who's playing with Royalty and Felony and some former, I think Exotic was on the team, he got dropped, some former pros. And he is the main AR for that team. And I feel like being in main AR in the AM scene is really tough because there's only one role. It's only 1 out of the 4 roles as main AR, right? So to break into the pro scene as the main AR is pretty tough right now. But here's a quick clip of what he can do.
Going to be able to pick up a couple of kills here and there over towards Broken Side. It's just not going to be enough, and Triumph is going to be about able to get a full 60 seconds of time with relatively no contests. They're only going to lose about 2 to 3 seconds on that hill.
Grabbing a good majority of this. We'll see the last 10 seconds go over. And well, if you're the side of Triumph, you want to hold this side of the map at the moment. So maneuvering through the cave and making sure no one's going to be able to push through is certainly going to be the goal. So now Patty up top tries to work this cobblestone area. TCM's waiting patiently for him, but might not have the right angle. It jumps out, almost able to take him down. But the gunfight still won in the end. Now Forspree, for the man on your screen, looking for maybe 5. Goes for a shot somehow, able to land. Oh my God! He snaps on another one, top broken, and that was so massive from him. He solo holds this side of the map to make sure no one slips through. This might be another one for down. Patty is keeping it. He's raining it down as he finds 7 in a row.
I kind of almost like how that last clip, the audio was delayed, because after he gets that kill, there's a pause, and then, oh, he gets 7 in a row! Like, it was just kind of funny.
Yeah, it's definitely been something that's happened in the pro scene as well.
Yeah,
some of the audio
sometimes it causes, you know, like, actual issues, where sometimes it's even, like, it's before, you know, and they spoil clips. But I think afterwards it can be a little funny sometimes. You get the delayed reaction.
You definitely can.
Yeah, that's gonna... Well, Alex, you can go.
With that should wrap up our camouflage segment, and with that, we'll move into our segment called One in the Chamber. So here we are going to talk about, or rather, we're going to ask each other tough questions, and we can only answer with one word. No context given, only one word. It puts pressure on both of us, and I'll be curious to see what answers we get. So we don't know what questions we're going to ask each other, so this should be very interesting. You want to go first?
I'll beat off my 5 first, and then we can do the next 5. All right. First one I have.
Okay, nice.
You know, we did a little segment on him before, so describe Damon Barlow. 1 word.
Oh.
Wait, did you say a word yet? Oh, the goat. Oh, I said the audio cut out for a bit there. Okay. So the goat.
Oh, the
goat.
Goat.
So you put him over Krim. Oh, okay. I'm not gonna say anything because I don't, you know.
Only one word.
I was just wondering. Okay, all right. The next one is a bit of an easier one to do 1 word for, but favorite Call of Duty map, any title, any game. That was so quick. You had that ready. What?
I've known for a while.
All right. The next one is okay. This is a bit. Okay, so favorite role to play. I can clarify if you need me to, but okay.
No, that's fine. Support submachine. Sub.
So you care about wins. That's nice. I like that. All right, nice. Okay. Last one. Is that 4 or 5? I don't even know. What was your favorite gun? Any title?
MSMC.
So you really like Black Ops 2. Okay. Nice. Nice. Okay. Last question. What about it works for you? Yes. Okay. Good. Good answer.
All right. So now my 5 questions. I will say they are a lot more harsh. So
okay.
Give me for that. But let's get into it. So first question: most overrated pro.
Okay. Damn. Oh. Oh. It's over.
I got him here.
Yeah, damn. This is so mean.
Just gotta say one. You can do it. You can do it based off the community or by the.
I think.
Okay.
What can I say more? Is that it just? Oh, that's so mean.
That's it. That's it. That's all I can say.
Classic. Is that wait? Just is that historical? Or is that like right now? I should. That's just.
We can say whether it's historical.
That's not good. It's just, I think.
Right
I think obviously for classic, it's historical. You know. But yeah, that's the.
Okay. All right. We'll leave that. Okay. So next, what top 4 team in the standings has no shot at winning champs? That's the Huntsman, Faze, Empire, and Rocker. Those are the top
No
four.
shot at winning champs. Oh, that's easy. That's easy. Faze. Easy Faze. Easy.
Wow, okay. Top 4 team in the standings has no shot at winning.
Yep, say Faze.
Same Faze. Wow. Okay.
Yep.
Jeez. Interesting. Okay. Which bottom 4 team will make the biggest splash? So that's Bros, the Surge, Ultra, and the Subliners.
Mac.
Well,
Yeah.
The Subliners, I assume?
Dude's
okay. You're Mac. Okay, I see. Which rookie player this season does not deserve their spot in the Pro League?
Spart. Yep. Spart.
Which, I believe this is the last question. Which organization has done the worst job in the CDL this year? Org-wide.
Wait.
That'd be from the roster to branding, all included. Oh, no, just the organization in total. Overall.
Oh, damn. Okay. Paris.
Okay, that wraps up our One in the Chamber segment.
Damn, okay. Alright, yep, that's...
I hope that was entertaining for you guys. It was definitely entertaining for me.
Alright, yeah, so...
I hope that gives more clarity. And with that wraps up our One in the Chamber segment. And now we'll move on to our last segment, which is called Run It Back. This is a segment where we talk about throwback tournaments that have happened in past years that we feel has a lot of significance to it, and a lot of scene, given that they are new, Black Ops 3 and further, they may have missed this tournament, and we sort of want to highlight all the stories that happened during that time. So I didn't actually watch this tournament live. I watched 2 tournaments after. G3 was the first tournament I watched, but I went back to watch this tournament when I first got into competitive Call of Duty, and looking at all the storylines, it's really easy to see why this was such a historic tournament. So, first time MLG was ever at the X Games, which, in itself had a lot of controversy. People were saying, Call of Duty doesn't belong to the X Games. Why is it at the X Games? It's not at the X Games anymore. But this was the first year it was going to be the X Games. There was no prize pool. It was just going to be you play for gold, silver, and bronze. It was an 8-team invitational, so we had Optic Gaming, Team Caliber, EG, Envy, Strictly Business, Curse Orange, Optic Nation, which, this is the point, this was their second event. The lineup of Embos, Killa, Mir, and Ricky. And we had also had Faze Red. So coming into this tournament, you look at EG, massive favorites. They had dominated the Ghost season up until that point. They only had 1 second place, which was at NA Regionals. You look at, the core 3 of HTP and Crim. They had gone an entire year of every single event they go to Grand Finals. The entire year. They'd gone 13 That's straight insane. Tournaments of the Grand Finals.
So insane.
It itself was insane. So everyone's like, EG, the Grand Finals again. They're probably going to win gold. Like, it's a wash. The NV team at Champs, that had come second to Champs. So this was Study, Nameless, Merc, Rambo. But Rambo had retired by this point, was the coach. So they had Haggy in his place. Obviously, Optic Gaming had made the decision to have Bose have his own team. So it was Proofy taking his place, making the roster of Nadeshot, Scumpy, Clayster, and Proofy. And then TK had no longer had Formal, so they had Apathy in his place, making Sharp, Goonjar, Neslo, and Apathy. So this was each team was into different brackets. So we had Optic, Faze Red, Envy, and Curse in one group, and then Optic Nation, SB, TK, and EG in the other group. And in Group A, we had TK and EG coming out, but interestingly enough, TK was the first seed. They ended up beating EG to take that first spot, which surprised a lot of people. That was the first time EG had lost in quite some time. And then in Group B, we had Optic coming out first with Envy in second. What's interesting to note about this group is that at the time, a lot of people speculated that Envy had purposely lost to Optic in the winners match for that group to avoid playing EG, because everyone knew EG is the best. You don't want to play them. That's a scary time. So people had assumed at the time that OG only beat Envy because of that reason. Now we go on to semifinals where EG plays Optic, obviously Nade versus Aches. Once again, the storyline is played out. And this time, Optic, to many surprise, win. And this was a massive moment. This is the first time, and again, as I said, an entire year that EG had not been in the grand finals of a tournament. So this was really historic. Everyone was talking about, oh, this is Optic's time. EG's not in it. This is their time to finally win. TK plays Envy, and TK takes out Envy 3-1. So we have a TK and Optic final.
Sorry to cut you off. Was the TK versus Envy, was that a surprise upset?
I believe it was close. I don't know if it was a surprise. There were not many people were sure how well TK would perform, given that they played very poorly at Champs. It looked like Apathy had really turned them around. I would say Envy was definitely the favorite in the match, so TK winning was definitely a big surprise, or a bit of a surprise, not the biggest surprise. It should be noted that this tournament was a single elimination, with the exception of obviously pool play or groups, as you want to call it. So EG, when they were eliminated, they only had third place to play for, which they did beat Envy, and they got the bronze medal in a map 5. Obviously, they weren't too pleased about it. Egg still talks about how, the tournament winner only won gold medal, no money, but to each their own. So now let's go on to the gold medal match. Obviously, for Optic Gaming, there was a lot riding on this. This was Nadeshot's first opportunity to win an MLG event. They had won UMG Chicago, which was over a year ago. So for a lot of the fans at this time, they had never seen Optic win a tournament. So this was really historic to be in the grand finals of X Games, being broadcast in front of so many fans. This was, all the pressure was on them. TK, it was a different story. Consistently, they'd placed second amongst a couple events, particularly to EG. So for them, this was their opportunity to finally win their first as an organization, which would have been really huge for them, for guys like Sharp and Neslo and even Apathy. He'd already won a chip, NA regionals. So this was a big matchup, and as so went to map 5, and I have some clips for you to sort of break down how map 5 ended. Yeah, so what we have right now is map 5 was Sovereign Dom. Optics up 5-3, I believe, and we have a 2v1 with Nadeshot and Scumpy against Nislo, and they have bombed down.
Oh, I hit it. Sorry. There you go.
Get the defuse here.
Will it be Scumper? Will it be Nadeshot picking up the final kill to secure XGames gold? Shots going down, trying to draw out Neslo. Neslo pushing. Scumpy, and he's going to get the kill on Nade. Scumpy, will he spot him?
Patience.
There it is.
Oh, he got it! Oh, my gosh! Oh, my
gosh, the reactions. This was such an incredible moment.
That was massive by Neslo.
You already know in the back of those Optic players' minds, they're thinking, man, like, please don't choke this. Please don't choke this. And for people to say that they didn't care about competitive Call of Duty, look at this man. He cared.
Yeah, clearly not happy.
You can see how much that meant to him. Fortunately, what ended up happening after that was it go 5-4, and then Optic ended up winning the next round. Play getting the final kill with the Bulldog on the Green Jar.
There's a celebration.
See the boys all
happy. Oh god. Jesus, they got loud.
Yeah, it was such an important moment for them and Optic Gaming and its history. Their first event went in such a long time, and it was such a historic event for them to be at the X Games. They did go back next year, 2015 AW season. It was the last time they showed up, but I think for those guys, it was. I know Clay at one point had said before he won Champs, or even after we won Champs, that winning X Games was such a special moment. There's only ever been 2 X Games ever, or for Call of Duty, that is. I just wanted to touch on how incredible a moment it was, all the storylines that came into it, and it's great. It's great to look back and be appreciative of those times, because I feel like tournaments like that we won't see again ever. So it's just really cool to look back.
For
on.
me, coming in late in Black Ops 3, I missed a lot of the earlier beef and tournaments, the storylines and everything. But looking back, definitely showed me how passionate the players were. Not that the players have gotten less passionate, but there's definitely a different element now with players being salaried and being a structured league, where it's not that they don't want to win as much. It's just a different kind of passion. I think Gunless talked about it a bit on the podcast with Hex when United won their first event. That was Gunless's big event for earning money. Like, he just needed the money to survive. Like, there was a big moment for him. And I think nowadays, it's good, obviously, for the scene that people are salaried, and they have structure now, and they have whatever, full year salaries. But I missed a bit of the the hype and people playing for their money, for their lives back in the day. So it's just interesting to look back and see that.
Well, for sure, and I mean, as I mentioned, the crazy thing about this tournament was
that's a good point.
There was no money on the line. It was for a gold medal. It was a gold medal, and for them, it was like, because of how dominant EG was, there was like no guarantee you're ever gonna win. That Optic lineup, it was like, this is our opportunity. We beat an EG, in Envy, we beat in Faze Red. We can win this. We can win. We have the advantage, and they did end up winning. I can only imagine how happy they must have been. It can only be one of the greatest moments. I know Nate Chud still talks about it to this day.
He did a reaction video on it
that was,
like a year ago, I think, 2 years ago. I remember like he got the chills watching it back.
Yeah.
Got a little emotional.
Yeah. For a lot of them, because Clay, he had won a lot of tournaments up to that point. For Seth, he hadn't won since UMG Chicago. Proofy hadn't won in quite a long time from what I can recall. I don't think he had won Black Ops 2 or Ghost, so for him this was his first event win in a while. And you saw that S&D, he had 10 plus kills, so happy for those guys.
Yeah, that'll wrap up the what's it called? What'd you call it? Run it back segment.
The run it back segment.
All right. Yeah, so that'll be it for our first podcast. We're just gonna wrap it up quickly here. So let us know if you guys want to hear more things with the AM scene, or if you want to talk about meta changes. I think we should briefly mention the meta changes if you want to.
Like we saw, I think recently, both ATS Adam.
It's all good.
Automatic Tactical Sprint and Merc Foregrip both get GA'd, which I think has made some players happy. I do think they did provide some unfair advantages with regards, especially the HIPFIRE for the Merc Foregrip. But with the changes, I think we're liking them. I mean, we're seeing new guns in the meta, as you mentioned. I think we had Weskin running the Growl in one scrim. We had Envoy with the Uzi. Will those guns stay in the rotation? Who knows? But it is nice to see a bit of variation.
Yeah, and it's nice to see that pros are willing to make changes to different guns. I think we all remember the Rampart last year with Classic and LG and that whole controversy there. So I think it's nice to see pros willing to branch out and try different things, because they're not always so willing to. But yeah, let us know if you want to hear more about the AMC. I'm pretty tuned in to mainly the EU and the NAMC. I'm not too sure about APAC. APAC kind of just seems like Renegades winning everything, so I don't know what more there is to look into there. But yeah, let us know if you want to see more of that, or if you want us to highlight a certain player and have their clips played like we did for Damon in the future. Obviously, Damon was a special one because he just retired, but yeah.
For sure, if you guys have any suggestions, any tips for us, if you want us to improve on, if there's certain events that you want us to talk about, in particular from the past, you want us to bring up that you feel has significant importance, be sure to do so. With that should wrap up our first podcast. You have anything else to say, Seth?
If anybody knows how to get a cleaner clip for YouTube, because the clips that we got are a bit. We have to blow them up on the OBS. We're using OBS, by the way. We have to blow them up on the OBS, and the clips look a little bit blurry. So if anybody can give any advice on how to fine-tune that, that'd be nice. That's all.
And that should wrap up our podcast. And thank you guys for listening.